Out of my lane. I'm not in that lane. I'm sorry.
And any update on the agents that are going to Charlotte as far as the increased immigration effort in Charlotte, North Carolina? Can you talk about that?
I'm not going to discuss any operation until it actually takes place. We'll see if that happens.
Tom, this week the Catholic bishops sent out a special message. They said they get that countries can secure their borders, but they don't like these mass deportations. What's your message?
So according to them, the message we should send to the whole world is that if you cross the border illegally, which is a crime, don't worry about it. If you get ordered removed by a federal judge after due process, don't worry about it, because there shouldn't be mass deportations. If that's the message we send to the whole world, people are still going to put themselves in harm's way to come to the greatest nation on earth. They're going to spend their life savings to give it to a criminal cartel. And we saw during the Biden administration, when there was no immigration enforcement, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey, historic record. 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl, historic record. Secure borders saves lives, and I wish the Catholic Church would understand that. We have the right to secure our borders like they have the right to secure their facility. You know, you can't enter their facility without getting arrested. Matter of fact, the penalties for entering their facilities are much worse than ours. So, you know, we're going to force the law, and by doing that, we're saving a lot of lives. Secure border saves lives. And you know, one of the reasons no one talks about why we have the most secure border in the history of this nation is because exactly what ICE is doing. ICE is sending a message to the whole world: don't give your life savings to come to the country, because you're not going to be released. You're not going to cross the border illegally, you're going to be prosecuted. So the Catholic Church is wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm a lifelong Catholic. I'm saying it as not only at borders, I'll say it as a Catholic. I think they need to spend time fixing the Catholic Church, in my opinion.
On H-1B visas, did you take the president's recent comments as any kind of a reversal? Do you think that H-1B visa policy is going to change based on hearing him say that?
That's still being discussed, so I have no comment on that right now.
There are reports out of London that British intelligence is no longer sharing intelligence with the US following grave concerns about the legality of operations in the Caribbean. Can you confirm that, and what is your reaction to the idea that a key ally like the UK is so skeptical of the legality of your operations?
First of all, it's out of my lane, but I don't think the UK is a friend of this country, a friend of the president. I don't think there's skepticism, and I'm not familiar with not sharing intelligence. Again, it's out of my lane. I'm a border guy, so that's a question for Pete Hegseth or the Secretary of State.
Any more on the protests outside of the Broadview facility?
Can't hear you.
Any more on the protests outside of the
Look, they got the right to protest. Have at it. But don't cross the line. I was watching the videos before I came out here. When they put hands on a law enforcement officer, they're getting arrested, going to jail. They have a right to protest, but don't cross the line. I mean, if people would just look at the data, the way it reads, that what ICE is doing, the vast majority of public safety trusts, I know some of you here say that's not true, because they're not criminals, cannot convict you yet. If we arrest somebody in the county jail or state prison that has a criminal conviction, well, it's not, a DUI. Like I read one report says, well, a lot of these are DUIs. That's really not a crime. Really? 12,000 people a year die from DUIs. I consider that a significant public safety threat. But then they say, well, some of these aren't convicted. Well, we arrest them in a county jail. They're in jail, locked in a jail cell because they're arrested for a crime. We consider those convicted and those pending criminal charges criminals. But you got a lot of the media saying, well, most of the people in ICE detention aren't a criminal. Wrong. I looked at the data this morning. More than half are criminals. And as far as what we're arresting, it hovers around 64 to 70% are criminals. And who are the others, 30%, which the media ignores? A lot of them are national security threats. Most national security threats don't have a criminal history. We arrested several thousand Iraqi nationals. Most of them don't have a criminal history. Why is that? Because they're laying low to do whatever they want to do. A lot of them are gang members. A lot of gang members don't have criminal history. And like I said, a lot of them are fugitives. Those who had due process were ordered to move and went and win. Yeah, we're arresting them. But we're the most non-fugitive, non-criminals, non-public safety threat, non-national security threats. Where do most of them get arrested? Sanctuary cities. Because rather than giving us the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, they release them in the community. We go in the community and find them. When we find them, many times they're with others. Others in the United States illegally. Well, guess what? They're going to get arrested too. They're in the country legally. It's not okay to be in the country legally. It's not okay to enter the country legally. It's a crime. And the message we're not going to send come here illegally, just don't commit another crime and you're safe. Not the message we're going to send. That's why we had the most secure border in lifetime in the history of this nation. Not only that, let's not forget, it's just not about immigration. It's just not about a secure community. The stronger the border is, the stronger our national security is, because we now have a pretty good handle on who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, and why it's coming in, which didn't happen in the 4 years of the Biden administration. 2.1 million gotaways, biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
So why is Charlotte
Can I ask you about the refugee cap now? Now that the president has announced that the shutdown is ending, will you consult with Congress on those 2026 refugee targets, or no?
There's discussions going on.
With Congress?
Yes.
It's my understanding that's mandated. That's why I'm asking. I guess I'm curious whether there's flexibility in that number, or is that the number?
I talk to members of Congress every day. So there's discussions going on. But look, it's President's ultimate authority, and but I think this administration is working well with members of Congress on anything related to immigration.
Sir, Sir Nicolas Maduro down in Venezuela, do you think his days in power are numbered? The pressure's really ramping up.
I can't comment on that.
So as a member
Do
of the
you think one more?
administration,
Do you think the $50 million bounty on his head, that reward being offered by the U.S. for his arrest and/or conviction, is $50 million enough, or do you think that needs to go up?
I got no comment on that. And look, Maduro's not a friend of this country. What they did during the last 4 years, they sent, Venezuelan gangs to this country. We saw what happened. We saw how many young women were raped and murdered by members of this gang. What I appreciate, President Trump took immediate action calling TDA a terrorist organization, MS-13 a terrorist organization, is the right move to make. And I said, even before the administration came into power, designating these groups terrorist organizations is the right thing to do. Especially the drug cartels. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world. It's about time we had a strong president like President Trump come in and hold these people accountable.